I'm Steve Morgan, founder of Cybersecurity Ventures and editor-in-chief at Cybercrime Magazine. I'm here today with Scott Schober, author of the popular book Hacked Again, cybersecurity expert, inventor, and chief security officer for Cybersecurity Ventures. Evolution Equity TV is brought to you by our sponsor, Evolution Equity Partners, an international venture capital investor partnering with exceptional entrepreneurs to develop market-leading cybersecurity and enterprise software companies. To learn more about Evolution Equity Partners, visit evolutionequity.com. Scott, welcome. Great to have you with us today.
Yeah, great to be here with you, Steve.
So Scott, I need an expert. I need you to help me put crypto crime in perspective because it's different than a lot of cybercrime we've been following for the past 5 years. You've covered crypto crime for us since January or so, maybe a little bit longer. We've done some research, and it indicates that crypto crime is going to cost the world $30 billion by 2025. That's a very large number, and it's about twice what it was last year. A few years ago, Scott, I have to say, I could never have imagined we'd be in this place because blockchain is supposed to be such a secure infrastructure. What about you? Does this surprise you? Does it concern you, what we're seeing insofar as crypto crime?
Yeah, I do think it's somewhat surprising because of the nature. Just like the point you mentioned, we think about with the blockchain, open ledger and everything and all the security that's out there associated to crypto, it should be secure and it is relatively secure. However, when I think about cyber criminals, what do? They follow the money. Since there's so much supply and demand issues that are driving the price of crypto up there, and a lot of these larger organizations and institutions are starting to adopt it, it's becoming popular. And that means that the cyber criminals are looking for ways to exploit any and all vulnerabilities within that entire crypto ecosystem. And that's fundamentally the problem. So I think it's actually going to probably get worse before it gets better as far as the problems with companies hacking in and stealing different types of crypto.
You know, one of the best books I've read is Hacked Again. You're the author. I don't have to tell you about the book, but the reason I enjoyed the book so much and your other books as well is that you speak to consumers and individuals in addition to businesses of all sizes. And as it relates to a lot of the crypto crime we're seeing, it's affecting individuals, it's affecting investors. And one of the things we've seen, Scott, over the past couple of years are rug pulls. And just in plain English, without doing any kind of deep technical dive, we have situations here where investors are being lured into platforms that are suddenly turned off, and the founders of those platforms walk away.
Yeah, and those are scary types of scams, I call them, in the world of crypto, because I guess it really derives from the term pulling out the rug, that phrase. We hear that oftentimes. And it really does that. It paints a beautiful picture and it lures in these people that want to make some money and want to invest into this platform, into this crypto or whatever. And then they just walk and say, see you. So it's a type of really an effective scam that plays on people, oftentimes their greed and wanting to be an early adopter and part of things. So huge red flags go up and a lot of caution. And that's why everything associated with crypto, in a sense, is new. Every day it's something new that we learn about companies, startups. So it's very important for everybody to do the research, slow down, and don't just try to jump on the bandwagon if you could think you can make a fast buck if you're trying to invest in crypto, or if you just want to be part of exciting technology. All those things are okay, but use caution and do your research. Very important.
So Scott, I was reading a story earlier this week in the New York Times, and the headline was, "The crypto world is on edge after a string of attacks," or hacks, I should say. You've been covering this, Scott, and maybe you can just touch on some of these going back maybe a year ago. And, you know, I'm interested, and I think our viewers would be interested in the monetary losses. You know, exactly what is at stake? How big are these hacks? And are they rivaling what we're seeing insofar as, you know, corporate brands and what we're used to seeing be hacked?
Yeah, well, I would say there's probably lots of standouts. Some of them, in fact, one of the most recent one that I covered, the headlines on Cybercrime Radio, kind of was an interesting one. It was called Wintermute. And this one in particular, they were a leading company, and they develop algorithms, some advanced algorithms to handle digital assets in the world of crypto. So it's kind of exciting, cutting edge technology that they're doing. But they had a loss of $160 million And what I thought was really interesting about this one, it was like an inside job. So it was really the manipulation of a smart contract. And that's what we're finding a lot of these hacks are, and cybercrime associated to companies such as Wintermute and many others. They're inside jobs, people that have knowledge how to get into the wallets, the passwords, into the crypto ecosystem. And that's a big concern, and it needs to be secure. The other one that I had a note on I thought was interesting was Nomad Bridge. And that, again, was a very big hack that happened not too long ago. It was the beginning of August timeframe, but it was $200 million that was really at risk there. And the part that was really cool about it was, and this was according to, I think it was a PeckShield report, that white hat hackers and ethical hackers actually were doing research and had access to some of the crypto. And it was about $9 million that they eventually was taken out of Nomad, and it was being asked, please give it back. They actually put a tweet out there and said, hey, for the world of white hat hackers and ethical hackers that were doing research and acquired some of these coins, please, here's the address of the wallet. Please send the crypto back to see if there's any honest thieves out there or honest white hackers. So it was a very interesting story there. But again, it all speaks to the point, there are never-ending hacks. This is happening every single day in the world of crypto as it's exploding in growth.
So, Scott, I remember back in January, the first biggie that I paid attention to was Crypto.com. A lot of people know them because they spent, I think it was $700 million for the naming rights to a football stadium in San Francisco or in the Bay Area. And that was quite a big loss. It raised awareness. Since then, have you seen any other, large, hacks that have resulted in monetary losses that, raised your eyebrows?
I think they all kind of catch my eyebrows. There's no any one standout. Some kind of stick out a little bit more than others. I think I'm always impressed when I realize the lengths that cyber criminals will go to actually get into the ecosystem. Because I view this as a little bit like the Wild West. It's a decentralized finance where it's really the people, in a sense, are holding the assets, the money. And it's so different. So when we reflect upon it and think about it that way, it opens the door up to insecure passwords, insecure wallets, anybody that's holding any of these Coinbases that are holding the actual crypto. Those are all the targets. So again, it's the Wild West. Anybody can target and try to exploit those vulnerabilities, and it's happening so quickly, they can't keep up with the cybersecurity as fast as they find the vulnerabilities and they're exploited. So I think anybody in that space needs to be aware that it needs to be better security put into place. And unfortunately, I hate to say this, like the centralized banking institutions in the US and around the globe, there's regulation and there's compliance. That's what's missing for the most part in the world of crypto. And that's part of the problem. Cyber criminals are going to keep attacking it and whittling it down and take as much as they can until some rules and regulations get put into place.
So, Scott, you and I were talking offline. I shared a concern with you. We have a labor crunch. Anybody who follows cyber knows that. We have a lot of unfilled positions. And when I look at this new space, I'll call it, a new space compared to what security, cybersecurity professionals have been protecting for decades, namely, corporate information systems, everything transitioning to the cloud. There are a lot of terms. There's a lot of new lingo that, frankly, I don't completely understand. I probably have to read through some of these news stories 2 and 3 times before I can really get a good handle on exactly what happened. And I wonder, are we dealing with a situation where the cybersecurity experts, the IT experts who are responsible for locking down and protecting these platforms that are continuously being hacked, are they in a situation where they don't have the same type of experience that somebody could claim when, they're protecting an enterprise and they've been doing it for 20 years? These platforms haven't been around that long.
Yeah, you know what? That's a brilliant point. I'm glad you bring that up, because thinking about it, I myself immerse myself in cybersecurity every day, as well as many others in the industry I talk to regularly, such as yourself, and it's hard to keep up with it. In the background for myself as a hobby, I'm reading about Bitcoin and blockchain, a book on it, just to keep up with it because it's changing so fast. So to your point, there's a shortage of cybersecurity jobs that really need to be fulfilled. And you guys put out some great stats on that really help us get the bigger picture of the problem there. And it starts within the schools and the colleges to train at a young age, but they don't train enough of the niche areas, such as this area of just crypto in general. A lot of people don't know about it. When I talk to students, when I even talk at the level of college, and I talk about cryptocurrency, this and that, the common thing I get back is, well, Bitcoin is cool. Should I invest in that? Should I buy Bitcoin? And that's the extent they understand it. You talk about blockchain or other things, I quickly get deer in the headlights. So I think a little bit more of the overall big picture needs to be explained at a young age to get more people involved in this, especially the math and STEM areas for science, because that's where it's needed to have this good understanding of how the whole crypto ecosystem works. So I think the future is exciting. People that have appreciation for the financial sector, maybe they're going to kind of move over to the world of crypto and cybersecurity and understand that better so they could then hopefully protect these assets that are growing and at danger of being stolen.
So, Scott, in the IT industry, for many years, it's been highly verticalized. You have a lot of solution providers. They focus on healthcare. They may focus on automating law firms. They know these disciplines very well. They understand what's at risk. We've seen that in the security space as well. Perhaps it's more prevalent with small to mid-sized businesses, not so much with, super large enterprises. But I'm wondering, are we going to see, do you think we're going to see an emergence of, quote, crypto security companies who are specialized and just focused on locking down these platforms?
We need it. I'm hoping that we see more and more. There are some great companies doing some exciting stuff. It requires a lot of money, requires a lot of cutting edge talent, and using that talent with the technology that's emerging. And that will allow us to kind of fight back against the cyber criminals that are constantly whittling away at the crypto market. But it's still in the early stages, I guess, even though crypto's been around for a while. These narrow areas of expertise need to grow. And I think that's to me, the startups. When we can get investments into those startups, that's a powerful thing because it'll stay one step ahead.
So maybe just to give our viewers, a sense of what these companies do, who some of the hot players are. There's a couple we've been tracking. Solidus Labs is one. Another one is Elliptic. And these companies get into more than just security. We're talking about compliance and regulation. And of course, that all ties in. I've mentioned them previously, and I'd like to maybe just get some general thoughts from you on these companies.
Yeah, and these are the type of companies I'm talking about that have deep knowledge in the crypto space. So yeah, they get cybersecurity, but they also understand the financial side, the crypto world, the digital assets. Solidus Labs, I think they're doing some exciting stuff because they're utilizing machine learning. And we always hear about machine learning. Is it really machine learning or not? They're actually using machine learning to actually monitor and look at the abuse in the world of crypto and stop some of the problems. And I think that's really what's good. They're helping you appreciate what the risk levels are. So corporations can go to them and use their analysis, and it'll keep them safe and allow them to make basic decisions from a risk management standpoint. Companies like that, critical. The other one is Elliptic. They provide some of the compliance and regulation that's needed with understanding the blockchain and crypto assets and things like that. And that's what the industry is missing. So with companies like this that are really in that narrow space, educating and providing guidance and information to other companies, it allows the larger companies to dive into the space and use crypto, but using it safely because there's the compliance and the regulation behind it to make sure that nothing funny happens.
So before you go, Scott, I want to ask you one final question about this ecosystem, the crypto security, crypto crime fighting companies, VCs, venture capital companies. In a lot of ways, they're the underpinning. They provide the money that helps a lot of these companies build products and ultimately go to markets. One of them, who we follow, they're our sponsor, Evolution Equity Partners. Their founder and managing partner, Richard Seawald, has been on with us. He's a thought leader, has great perspectives on this space as well. How important is it, Scott, for us to see venture capital getting behind this market?
Oh, I think it's a critical integral component in it because if the funds are not there and the direction for especially some of these niche startups, there will not be enough research there to protect the ecosystem as a whole, because there's so many moving components. And as I mentioned earlier, crypto is constantly changing. Having VC funding that's carefully directed into the right companies, I think it's a make or break type of decision for the success long term of the crypto market, because we see day after day, and we read it in the headlines, and I have the privilege of speaking about some of these on Cybercrime Radio. It hasn't stopped. Companies are continually being targeted, but with the nice flow of VC funding, it can actually fight back against the cybercrime and make a difference in the crypto space. So to me, I think it's a blessing to have that, and I think it's a needed component that's just going to make things better in the long run.
Well, Scott, you've authored some of the best books in our industry. Maybe we'll be lucky and in the next couple of years see something from you on crypto crime.
Hopefully so, if I can keep up with it, that's for sure.
Scott Schober, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you guys, much appreciated.
I'm Steve Morgan, founder of Cybersecurity Ventures and editor-in-chief at Cybercrime Magazine. To follow the latest on crypto crime, visit cryptocrime.com. Evolution Equity TV is brought to you by our sponsor, Evolution Equity Partners, an international venture capital investor partnering with exceptional entrepreneurs to develop market-leading cybersecurity and enterprise software companies. To learn more about Evolution Equity Partners, visit evolutionequity.com. You can keep up with all of our media at cybercrimemagazine.com.